The terrifying last moments of YouTuber swimming with great white sharks. The desperate screams echo across the water as the camera continues to record. "Help! He's got me! Oh God, he's got me!" The voice belongs to Liam Parker, his words becoming increasingly garbled as crimson clouds bloom in the churning water around him. The boat crew frantically reaches over the side with poles and nets, shouting instructions and warnings, but the massive grey shape has already dragged the young man beneath the surface. "Man overboard, man overboard." The radio crackles to life as the boat captain calls for emergency assistance. "We have a shark attack victim at danger point, approximately half a mile offshore. Victim is male, 20s, severe trauma, currently submerged. Request immediate medical evacuation and Coast Guard assistance." The camera, still rolling on the boat deck, captures the horrified faces of the film crew as they scan the reddening waters for any sign of their colleague. Liam Parker, 28, had been living what many considered a dream life. A marine biology graduate from UC San Diego who had transformed his passion for oceanic predators into a wildly successful YouTube channel called Extreme Encounters, Liam had amassed over 3.2 million subscribers in just 4 years. Known for his daring close-ups with dangerous marine animals, his videos regularly garnered millions of views, with his most popular video, swimming alongside killer whales in Norway, reaching 28 million views. Charismatic and fearless, with sun-bleached blonde hair and a perpetual tan, Liam had become the poster boy for a new generation of nature content creators who pushed boundaries to capture footage no one else dared to film. Born to middle class parents in Santa Cruz, California, Liam had been drawn to the ocean since childhood. His father, Robert Parker, a high school science teacher, had encouraged his son's fascination with marine life, taking him on weekend tide pool explorations and enrolling him in junior scuba programs by age 12. His mother, Eleanor, a nurse practitioner, had always worried about her son's fascination with dangerous creatures, but supported his academic pursuits. Liam graduated with honors and immediately began working as a research assistant at the Monterey Bay Aquarium, but found the methodical pace of scientific research too constraining for his adventurous spirit. At 24, he launched his YouTube channel with savings from his research position and a small loan from his parents. His combination of scientific knowledge, natural charisma, and willingness to take risks quickly set him apart from other nature content creators. Unlike many influencers who prioritize sensationalism over facts, Liam prided himself on educational content that respected the animals while still delivering heart-pounding excitement. He was engaged to marine conservationist Maya Hernandez, 26, who occasionally appeared in his videos and helped with research and planning. They were scheduled to be married in 3 months. Behind his confident on-camera persona, colleagues knew Liam as meticulous and safety-conscious, always researching conditions and animal behavior patterns before filming, which made the risks he took on his final expedition all the more perplexing to those who knew him best. Danger Point lived up to its ominous name, a rocky promontory extending into the cold, turbulent waters of the Neptune Islands Marine Park, approximately 30 miles off the South Australian coast. Known as one of the world's premier great white shark aggregation sites, the area attracts researchers and tour operators drawn by the relatively reliable presence of these massive predators. May 17th had dawned clear but windy, with 4-foot swells rocking the 42-foot research vessel Apex Predator as it anchored in the lee of the largest island at 7:15 a.m. The water temperature registered at a chilly 59 degrees. Visibility approximately 25 feet, considered good for these nutrient-rich waters that support a robust population of New Zealand fur seals, the primary prey of the great white sharks that patrol the area. The location had been carefully selected based on recent shark sightings reported by local cage diving operations, with Liam's team obtaining special permits through their partnership with the South Australian Marine Conservation Research Institute to film outside the standard cage diving protocols. The islands themselves rose stark and forbidding from the Southern Ocean, their rocky shores pounded by relentless waves, creating the characteristic white water that surrounds them almost perpetually. Uninhabited except for the seal colonies that occupy the lower rock shelves, the islands have a desolate beauty, wind-swept plateaus supporting sparse vegetation, their edges dropping precipitously into deep water. This unique topography creates upwellings that bring nutrient-rich water to the surface, supporting a diverse marine ecosystem that ultimately attracts the ocean's apex predators. The expedition had been planned for months, intended as the centerpiece of a special 5-part series on great white sharks for Liam's channel. The shoot schedule called for 3 days of filming, with this first day dedicated to establishing shots and preliminary cage dives to acclimate the team to the presence of the sharks. The more controversial open water segments were scheduled for day 3 after thorough safety assessments. Satellite tagging data from the Research Institute had indicated at least 7 individual great whites had been detected in the area within the past week, ranging in size from 12 to 16 feet. Captain Malcolm Rhodes, a 22-year veteran of these waters who specialized in scientific charters, had expressed concern about the weather forecast, showing deteriorating conditions for the afternoon, suggesting they complete all diving activities before noon. The film crew consisted of underwater cinematographer Jade Wilson, drone operator Tyler Kemp, and production assistant Zoe Chang, all of whom had worked with Liam on previous expeditions. Marine biologist Dr. Hannah Morris from the Research Institute was present as scientific advisor and safety officer, responsible for enforcing the strict protocols outlined in their filming permit. The great white shark that would ultimately claim Liam's life was a mature female, estimated at 16 feet in length and approximately 2,300 pounds. Researchers had named her Scylla after the sea monster from Greek mythology, recognizable by a distinctive scar along her right gill slits, likely caused by a boat propeller. Satellite tracking data showed she had been patrolling the Neptune Islands for approximately 3 weeks, displaying the typical hunting patterns associated with mature females in the area. Scylla had been tagged 2 years earlier as part of an international research initiative studying great white migration patterns throughout the southern hemisphere. Data indicated she typically spent summers feeding in the productive waters off South Australia before migrating to deeper offshore waters during winter months. Unlike some well-documented great whites, Scylla had been observed relatively infrequently, leading researchers to speculate she preferred hunting in deeper waters away from typical observation areas. Analysis of her hunting behavior from previous encounters showed her to be particularly methodical and cautious compared to younger sharks, typically making multiple investigatory passes before committing to an attack on prey. This characteristic patience made her especially dangerous, as she would often appear to lose interest before suddenly returning with explosive speed. Her size placed her near the upper range for female great whites in the region, making her one of the most formidable predators in these waters. On the morning of the incident, Scylla had been detected by acoustic receivers approximately 1 mile from the filming location, though this information hadn't yet been relayed to the vessel. Based on her tracking history, researchers believed she was in the late stages of a hunting cycle, having likely successfully fed on seals within the previous 48 hours. This feeding state should theoretically have made her less aggressive, though great white behavior remains notoriously difficult to predict with certainty. The shark's deep blue-gray dorsal coloration provided near-perfect camouflage against the ocean floor when viewed from above, while her white underside made her virtually invisible against the bright surface when viewed from below, the perfect evolutionary adaptation for an ambush predator of her size. The morning had proceeded according to plan, with the team successfully recording establishing shots of the islands and surrounding waters. At 8:45 a.m., the first cage diving session began, with Liam and Jade entering the specialized shark cage suspended off the stern of the vessel. Captain Rhodes and his first mate, David Chen, began the standard procedure of attracting sharks by deploying a tuna bait line approximately 30 feet from the cage. The scent trail produced almost immediate results, with 2 juvenile great whites approximately 10-12 feet in length making exploratory passes within the first 20 minutes. The footage captured during this initial dive was excellent, with clear visibility, allowing for dramatic shots of the sharks investigating the cage. Liam, wearing a 7mm wetsuit with hood and gloves to combat the cold water, provided enthusiastic commentary directly to the underwater camera held by Jade. "These juveniles are displaying classic investigatory behavior," he explained, his voice slightly distorted through his regulator. "Notice how they're keeping their distance, using their lateral line to sense our movements inside the cage. They're curious but cautious, exactly what we'd expect from younger sharks, still learning their place in the ecosystem." After approximately 40 minutes, the divers exited the cage for a planned surface interval. During this break, Dr. Morris reviewed the footage and discussed the behavior patterns they'd observed, while Captain Rhodes checked the latest weather update noting that winds were increasing slightly faster than predicted. At 10:15 a.m., the team prepared for the second dive session, with Liam making a last-minute decision that would ultimately prove fatal. "The visibility is exceptional today," he told the group during their pre-dive briefing on the boat's rear deck. "I think we should move forward with some of the open water shots we had planned for later in the trip. The sharks we've seen so far are displaying predictable behavior patterns, and their size range is manageable. This might be our best window before the weather turns." Dr. Morris immediately objected, reminding Liam that their permit specifically required all free diving to be conducted with a minimum of 2 safety divers in the water, and only after a full 24-hour observation period of shark behavior patterns at the site. "We've worked with similar specimens in South Africa and Guadeloupe," Liam countered, his charismatic confidence swaying the rest of the team despite the scientists' concerns. "The current sharks are showing textbook behavior and will maintain a safe distance. We need this footage for the conservation message to have maximum impact." After several minutes of debate, a compromise was reached. Liam would enter the water without the cage, but remain within 5 meters of it, with Jade filming from inside the protective structure. Captain Rhodes and First Mate Chen would stand ready with shark shields, electronic devices designed to repel sharks through electrical impulses, mounted on extension poles. At 10:37 a.m., Liam entered the water, initially remaining close to the cage as agreed. For approximately 15 minutes, the juvenile sharks continued their curious but distant circling, providing spectacular footage as Liam narrated their behavior patterns. The success of these initial shots apparently emboldened him as video. Evidence shows him gradually increasing his distance from the cage, ultimately positioning himself approximately 12 meters away in open water. At 10:52 a.m., drone footage captured the first appearance of Scylla, her massive form initially visible only as a shadow moving deeper in the water column, well below the smaller sharks. "Guys, I'm seeing a much larger specimen approaching from the north, approximately 50 meters out and deep," Tyler's voice warned through the communication system from his position monitoring the drone feed. Dr. Morris immediately signaled for Liam to return to the cage, but he appeared to deliberately delay, hoping to capture footage of the approaching larger shark. "I've got eyes on it," Liam responded through his underwater communication device. "Massive female, definitely over 15 feet. I'm heading back to the cage now, but this is exactly the specimen we came for." The next 2 minutes unfolded with horrifying rapidity. Scylla, rather than approaching from the direction initially, spotted, circled wide and deep, using the sun's glare on the surface as cover, a hunting technique documented in great whites but rarely witnessed so clearly. The first indication of danger came when the 2 juvenile sharks suddenly changed direction and descended rapidly, a behavior often observed when larger, more dominant sharks approach. At 10:54 a.m., Scylla accelerated upward from approximately 30 feet below Liam, who remained unaware of her approach until the last possible moment. The attack occurred with explosive speed, characteristic of great white predatory behavior, with the shark's initial strike targeting Liam's midsection and right leg. High-definition footage from both the drone and Jade's underwater camera captured the moment in graphic detail, Liam's body jerking violently as the massive jaws closed around him, his scream audible through the communication system. The initial bite caused catastrophic trauma to Liam's right leg and lower torso, severing his femoral artery and causing immediate, massive blood loss. The shark's momentum carried both predator and prey approximately 10 feet below the surface, where Scylla executed the characteristic head-shaking behavior used to disable prey. Liam, despite his grievous injuries, maintained enough presence of mind to strike at the shark's sensitive snout and gills, a technique he had discussed in previous videos about shark encounter survival. This defensive action appeared to cause the shark to momentarily release its grip, allowing Liam to begin a desperate ascent toward the surface. Captain Rhodes and First Mate Chen had already deployed the shark shields on extended poles into the water, creating an electrical field designed to deter the shark from continuing its attack. Dr. Morris had immediately called for the emergency medical kit and satellite phone to summon help, while Zoe prepared the boat's small, rigid, inflatable tender for a potential rescue attempt. Liam reached the surface briefly, gasping for air and calling for help, his blood rapidly spreading across the water's surface. "Help! He's got me! Oh God, he's got me!" The boat crew moved toward his position, but before they could reach him, Scylla returned, approaching this time in a more horizontal trajectory just below the surface, a secondary attack pattern commonly observed when great whites secure already wounded prey. This second attack pulled Liam back under the surface approximately 20 meters from the vessel. The next 3 minutes saw frantic rescue attempts as Captain Rhodes maneuvered the vessel closer to Liam's last position, while Chen deployed additional shark shields into the water. Jade exited the relative safety of the cage to assist in the search, despite the obvious danger. At 10:58 a.m., Liam surfaced once more, now approximately 30 meters from the vessel, barely conscious and no longer calling for help. The massive blood loss had likely already rendered him near death, medical experts would later conclude. Before the tender could reach his position, Scylla made a third and final attack, taking Liam deep below the surface. Despite continued search efforts and deployment of additional deterrents, neither Liam nor the shark resurfaced within visual range of the vessel. At 11:05 a.m., Captain Rhodes made the emergency call that began this account, setting in motion a massive search and rescue operation that would ultimately transition to a recovery mission. The Royal Australian Navy deployed a search vessel from Port Lincoln within 45 minutes of the initial distress call, with an air ambulance helicopter arriving on scene approximately 30 minutes later. By this time, weather conditions had deteriorated significantly, with wind speeds increasing to 25 knots and wave heights reaching 6 feet, hampering search efforts. 4 additional vessels from the South Australian Maritime Services joined the search pattern, covering an approximately 5 square kilometre area around the attack site. Liam's body was recovered the following morning, approximately 1 nautical mile from the initial attack site. Medical examiner Dr. James Wilson conducted the autopsy at Port Lincoln Regional Hospital, determining the official cause of death as exsanguination and traumatic injury due to shark attack. The report detailed catastrophic injuries including complete traumatic amputation of the right leg at mid-thigh, severe lacerations to the torso with evisceration of abdominal organs, multiple broken ribs, and a severed spinal column. Analysis of blood remaining in the heart chambers indicated Liam had likely lost consciousness within 60-90 seconds of the initial attack due to rapid blood loss, with death occurring shortly thereafter. The recovery of Liam's damaged underwater camera provided investigators with crucial evidence regarding the sequence of events. The South Australian Marine Parks Authority launched an immediate investigation into the incident, focusing particularly on the decision to conduct open water filming without following the established safety protocols outlined in the filming permit. Preliminary findings indicated multiple violations of safety regulations, including exceeding the permitted distance from protective equipment and failing to maintain the required number of safety personnel in the water during free diving operations. The news of Liam Parker's death sent shockwaves through both the marine conservation community and the world of social media content creators. His YouTube channel, which had been scheduled to release a new video the day after the attack, instead became a virtual memorial as millions of followers left messages of condolence and shared how his work had inspired their interest in marine conservation. Maya Hernandez, his fiancée, released a heartbreaking statement through her attorney. Liam died doing what he loved and believed in, sharing the beauty and power of the ocean's most misunderstood creatures. While I am devastated beyond words, I take some comfort knowing his work has inspired a generation to care about marine conservation. His legacy will live on through the countless minds he opened to the wonders of our oceans. The incident at Neptune Islands became the 6th fatal shark attack in Australian waters in the past 3 years, reigniting the contentious debate about shark management policies along the country's coastlines. Marine conservation groups, including several that had partnered with Liam on previous projects, were quick to emphasize that the attack occurred in a known shark aggregation site during prime hunting conditions, with the victim knowingly assuming exceptional risk by entering the water without protective equipment. What happened to Liam Parker is a terrible tragedy, but it's crucial to understand this was not a random attack on a recreational ocean user, explained Dr. Sarah Jenkins, director of the Australian Shark Conservation Society. This occurred in what is essentially the shark's dining room during active feeding conditions, with deliberate attraction methods being employed. Great whites are apex predators, doing exactly what nature designed them to do in their natural habitat. This was a case of human choice to enter that environment, not shark aggression. The incident sparked immediate policy reviews by the South Australian Department of Environment and Water, which announced a temporary suspension of all special filming permits for the Neptune Islands Marine Park, pending a comprehensive safety protocol reassessment. Commercial cage diving operations were allowed to continue under enhanced supervision, though several voluntarily suspended activities out of respect for the victim and his family. The global online creator community responded with an outpouring of tributes, with many fellow wildlife content producers acknowledging the fine line they walk between capturing compelling content and maintaining safety. Prominent wildlife filmmaker Mariana Costa, whose work on National Geographic had inspired Liam early in his career, addressed the incident in a viral social media post. Every nature documentarian must constantly balance the need for impactful footage against the risks inherent in wild animal encounters. Liam's tragic death serves as a sobering reminder that no image, no matter how powerful, is worth a human life. The best way to honor his memory is to ensure we never prioritize content over safety. In the months following the incident, the full analysis of video evidence and witness testimonies painted a complex picture of calculated risks, professional pressure, and a fateful convergence of circumstances. Marine biologists noted that the presence of a large, mature female great white during seal hunting season created a perfect storm of risk factors that should have precluded any open water activities. The investigation revealed messages on Liam's phone indicating pressure from sponsors to deliver more extreme content to maintain viewer engagement, with one message sent just days before the expedition reading, "Need something next level for the algorithm this quarter. Cage diving isn't cutting it anymore. Subscribers want bigger sharks and closer encounters." Dr. Morris, in her formal statement to investigators, expressed her regret at not more forcefully opposing Liam's decision to enter open water. The warning signs were all there: multiple sharks in the area, deteriorating weather, and the detection of larger specimens approaching the site. In retrospect, I should have exercised my authority as safety officer to absolutely prohibit any deviation from our approved protocols, regardless of Liam's credentials or confidence. That moment of hesitation will haunt me forever. The following spring, on what would have been Liam's 29th birthday, Maya Hernandez launched the Liam Parker Ocean Safety Foundation, dedicated to promoting responsible practices among wildlife, content creators, and educating the public about safe marine encounters. With initial funding from several of Liam's former sponsors seeking to address their role in encouraging increasingly risky content, the foundation established grants for wildlife filmmakers committed to ethical practices and developed educational programs for aspiring nature content creators. Liam's parents, in their only public interview following their son's death, expressed both pride in his accomplishments and regret over the risks he took. Liam showed millions of young people the wonders of the ocean and the importance of protecting it, his father said, voice breaking with emotion. But he also fell victim to the pressure to constantly push boundaries in a digital world that demands ever more extreme content. If others can learn from what happened to him, if his death serves as a warning about respecting the power of nature and the limits of human intervention, then perhaps some meaning can be found in our loss. The final footage from Liam's camera, showing his last moments alive as he encountered one of the ocean's most perfect predators, has never been publicly released, despite numerous offers from networks and streaming platforms. Instead, by family request, it remains secured in the archives of the Marine Conservation Research Institute, available only to researchers studying predator behavior and safety protocol development. His YouTube channel, now managed by Maya and the Foundation, continues to share his existing educational content, each video now prefaced with a safety message about responsible wildlife encounters. Perhaps the most poignant epitaph for Liam Parker came from marine biologist Dr. Sylvia Montero, who had worked with him on several previous expeditions. The ocean doesn't recognize our cameras or our curiosity or our conservation goals. It doesn't distinguish between those who enter its realm with respect and those who don't. Liam understood this intellectually, but like many who feel called to document the natural world, he sometimes forgot it emotionally. The line between passion and recklessness is razor thin when swimming with the world's most perfect predators. In the end, Liam's greatest legacy may be reminding us all that even